Hello, my awesome students. Let us start our lesson for today with a short story titled Young Entrepreneur. Mario sells cookies online to add for his savings. He sells each cookie for 8 pesos and 50 centavos. If he sells 50 pieces per day, how much does he earn each day? Let us first analyze the problem for us to be able to solve it. In here, we are asked to find how much does he earn each day if he sells 50 pieces per day. It is given in the problem that each cookie is worth 8 pesos and 50 centavos. Then it is also given that he sells 50 pieces per day. The word each here means that the operation that we will use to solve the problem is multiplication. But what will we multiply? We will multiply the price of each cookie to the total number of cookies he is able to sell each day. So are you ready? Okay. First, let us know the steps in multiplying decimals. So the first step is to align the digits as if there were no decimals. Number 2 is to multiply as usual. Number 3 is to count the number of decimal places there are in the factors. And number 4 is to place the decimal point in the product. The number of decimal places in the product should be the same with the factors. So let's start our solution. Again, we will multiply 8 pesos and 50 centavos and 50. So let's start. Again, we will assume that there are no decimals here. So that means we'll multiply them as if they are whole numbers. Let's start. 0 times 0 is 0, 0 times 5 is 0, and 0 times 8 is 0. 5 times 0 is 0, 5 times 5 is 25, and 5 times 8 is 40 plus 2, that's 42. Now let's add our partial products. We have 0, 0, 5, 2, and 4. Afterwards, we count the number of decimal places there are in our factors. We'll start counting from here. So we'll count 1, 2. In our second factor, we don't have any decimal point here, so that means there's no decimal place as well here. So all in all, we only have 1, 2 decimal places. Now, what we will do next is to count the same number of decimal places in our product. So again, we'll start from here, 1 and 2. So that means our decimal point should be placed here. Therefore, he earns 425 pesos each day. If you notice, we have here two decimal digits. Even if they are zero, we still included them because we are dealing with money. Okay, so whenever we have or whenever the answer involves money, make sure to always include two decimal digits in your answer. Now let's proceed to our other examples. What is 0.52 multiplied by 12? Again, for us to multiply decimal numbers, these are the steps that we'll follow. So let's first align the digits as if there were no decimals. So let's align them digit by digit. Afterwards, we multiply as usual, meaning to say we multiply as if they are both whole numbers. So 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 5 is 10. We regroup 1. 2 times 0 is 0 plus 1, that's 1. 1 times 2 is 2, 1 times 5 is 5, and 1 times 0 is 0. Then we add the partial products. We have 4, 2, 6, and 0. Then we will count the number of decimal places there are in the factors. We have here 1, 2 decimal places. This is a whole number, so there's no decimal place here. That means in our product, we should have 2 decimal places as well. Okay, so let's count starting from here. Okay, we have 1 and 2. So the decimal point will be placed here. That means our final answer is 6.24. We will no longer include that 0 here because we have here a non-zero digit in our whole number. If that 0 is written in between 6 and the decimal point, we cannot remove that 0 because it's 60, not just 6. Okay. But since the 0 here is before the whole number 6, we can remove that one. Okay, now let's have our next example. What is the product of 28 hundredths and 6? So again, these are the steps that we'll follow to multiply decimal numbers. Let us recall how to write 28 hundredths. Okay, so 28 hundredths, since the place value mentioned here is hundredths, the digit 8 should be in the hundredths place. Then the digit 2 is in the tenths place, and the decimal point here. Okay. Then we add 0. Okay. Again, we have your decimal point. It's tenths and hundredths. So the digit 8 is in the hundredths place. Then we multiply it by 6. 6 times 8 is 48. 6 times 2 is 12. Plus 4, that's 16. 6 times 0 is 0 plus 1, that's 1. Then we have here 1, 2 decimal places. So our answer should also have 2 decimal places. Therefore, the final answer is 1.68. Now let's have another example. What is 2 and 5 hundredths times 8 hundredths? Again, these are the steps that we'll follow. This time we have a mixed decimal. We have a whole number 2, so we write 2 here. Then end would be a decimal point. Then 5 hundredths. So we have the digit 5 should be in the hundredths place. So after the decimal point is the tenths place. So we have to write 0 there. And followed by 5 in the hundredths place. Then we multiply it by 8 hundredths. So again, we have here a 0, a decimal point. 0 because we don't have a whole number. So we put a decimal point after it. Then the digit 8 should be in the hundredths place as well. So meaning to say there's no digit in the tenths place. So we have to fill it up with placeholder 0, then the digit 8 should be in the hundredths place. So let's multiply. 8 times 5, that's 40. 8 times 0 is 0 plus 4, that's 4. 8 times 2 is 16. 0 times any number is equal to 0. So we can stop multiplying here. Then let's count the number of decimal places. Okay, 1, 2, 1, 2. So all in all, we have 4 decimal places. So in our final answer, we should also have 4 decimal places. Okay, so that will be here. Since we do not have a whole number, we should put 0 before the decimal point. Then we include 1, 6, and 4. This 0 here can be removed already because 0.164 is just the same with 0.1640. So let us avoid adding too much zeros here. Even if you add 1 million zeros after the digit 4, that the value of this number will just be the same. Okay, even if you add 100 zeros after the digit 4. Okay, so now let's proceed to the next one. Now, how about if we will multiply our numbers by 0.1, 0.01, 10, and 100? Okay, how do we do that? These are the steps that we'll follow. When we are multiplying, or if one of the numbers that we are multiplying is 0.1 and 0.01, these are the steps that we'll follow. We'll just simply count the number of zeros in 0.1 or 0.01. Then we move the decimal point of the other factor to the left as many times as the number of zeros in 0.1 or 0.01. So what do we mean by that? Okay, let's have the first example. What is 49 times 0.1? Again, these are the steps that we'll follow. So let's align first 49 and 0.1. Okay. Le- if you will follow the steps we had earlier, this is how it will go. 1 times 9 is 9, 1 times 4 is 4. Then we have one decimal place here. So our answer will also have one decimal place. So it's 4.9. But instead of doing that, since one of our factors is 0.1, we can just simply follow the steps written here. Okay, so we count the number of zeros there are in 0.1. There are 1 zeros, or there is one zero in 0.1. Then we move the decimal point of the other factor. The other factor is 49. The decimal point of any whole number is found after the last digit, so that means it's here. Okay, so following step 2, we move the decimal point of the other factor to the left as many times as the number of zeros in zero point 0.1. Since there's only one zero in zero point 0.1, we'll move this decimal point once to the left. So our answer is 4.9, and that's the same as what we got when we do these steps. Now let's proceed to the other example. What is 0.94 times 0.01? Again, these are the steps that we'll follow. So we have 0.94. One of the factors is 0.01, so the other factor is 0.94. In 0.01, there are two zeros, so that means the decimal point of 0.94, which is here, will be moved twice to the left. Okay, since there's no digit here, we put a placeholder 0, then we move the decimal point here. Okay, so that means our answer will be 0.0094. Okay. If you want to check if your answer is correct, you can do the manual computation like this one. 0.01. So we have 1 times 4, 4, 1 times 9 is 9, 1 times 0 is 0. 0 multiplied to any number is 0, same with the 0 here. So we can stop multiplying here. We count the number of decimal places, 1, 2, 3, 4, and we will also count the same number of decimal places in our product. Okay, so we just got the same answer. Now, how about if one of the factors is a 10 or a 100? These are the steps that we'll follow. Count the number of zeros in 10 or 100, but this time we'll move the decimal point of the other factor to the right as many times as the number of zeros in 10 or 100. So earlier in zero point 0.1 and 0.01, we are moving the decimal point to the left. But this time, since we have 10 and 100, we'll move the decimal point to the right. Let's have an example. What is 49 times 10? These are the steps that we'll follow in multiplying these numbers. So we'll have 49. Since one of the factors is 10, what we need to do is to just simply move the decimal point of the other factor to the right. Okay, the decimal point of a whole number is after its last digit. There is one zero in 10, so that means we move this decimal point once to the right. So our final answer now will be 490. Now let's proceed to the next one. What is 0.94 times 100? Again, these are the steps that we'll follow. Since one of the factors is a 100 or is 100, we will just simply move the decimal point of the other factor, which in this case is 0.94, to the right as many times as the number of zeros in 100. So there are two zeros here. That means we move this decimal point twice to the right. So the answer now will be 94. And that's it for our lesson for today. Thank you.